Hey everyone, welcome back to another Haolonggood review. Today we're taking a look at the new 135 scale Brontosaurus. This is the newest addition to Haolonggood's ever-growing 135 scale sauropod lineup. And for those of you who've been fans of this channel for a while, a lot of you know that Apatosaurus slash Brontosaurus is my favorite dinosaur of all time. To say that I am highly anticipated for these figures is an understatement. Now I ended up picking both of these up from Land of Time Shop. They both retail for $59.99 each. And I'll leave a link down below in the description if you want to pick one up for yourself. And let's just take a quick look at the package. And we got both color variants front and center on the nice white boxes we're accustomed to from Haolonggood Brontosaurus 135 scale. And down here, a platform is given as a random gift. More on those a little bit later. And then looking at the top of the box, we got a picture of all the vast variety of species Haolonggood has cranked out over the last 3 years or so. This is just a very, very small sampling. So enough about the packaging. Let's take these two beautiful figures out and take a closer look. And here are both variants on their respective bases, and these are two absolutely gorgeous figures. And here's a little short story of why Brontosaurus is my favorite dinosaur of all time. I am semi-local to the Peabody Museum of Natural History that houses the holotype to Brontosaurus excelsus YPM 1980. It was the first dinosaur skeleton I ever saw as a kid. When I walked into the dinosaur hall, just seeing that massive animal just solidified that as my favorite dinosaur of all time. And even back then, when I think I was like 5 or 6 years old, I knew Brontosaurus wasn't valid. So a quick little history lesson about why that is. 1879, Marsh described Brontosaurus, the thunder lizard, such a cool name. 1903, Elmer Riggs of the Field Museum of Natural History determined that there wasn't enough differences between Apatosaurus and Brontosaurus to warrant them being separate species. And since Apatosaurus was named first, that's the name that's sticking, the Brontosaurus invalid. 1905, Henry Fairfield Osborn, American Museum of Natural History, was mounting the first sauropod skeleton of all time. Even though he was not a big fan of how Marsh named dinosaurs, basically, every scrap of bone was given a different species, he still decided to call it Brontosaurus. And since it was the first sauropod ever mounted, that made Brontosaurus probably one of the most popular dinosaur names of all time. And then fast forward to 2015, a study came out that showed there was enough differences between Apatosaurus and Brontosaurus to make Brontosaurus valid again. So for the time being, Brontosaurus is valid, even though not every paleontologist accepted that study. So that's where we are now. And also find it kind of ironic now that the Apatosaurs at Field Museum and American Museum of Natural History, because of that 2015 study, we don't know what species they are currently. So getting back to the figures, between the two color schemes, the brown and gray, brown hands down, absolutely love it. That deep purple on the head going down to the neck, and just the way the whole figure is painted is the absolute standout of these two. Just a beautiful heavy animal with that very, very thick, powerful looking neck. The gray version is also nice, but Haolonggood has a history lately with repeating this gray pattern, and we'll get to that a little bit later on. But yeah, if I had to pick between the two, brown all day. And for measurements, if you measure this figure along the curve of the neck and stretch the tail out all the way, you get 21 inches or 53.3 centimeters, and 7.5 inches tall to the top of the head, or just over 19 centimeters. So Brontosaurus in real life was between 69 to 75 feet long, or 21 to 23 meters. So I'll put this figure somewhere in the 139 to the 142 scale range. And let's just take a quick look at the included bases on these figures. They are limited edition. From what I read, I guess they're included as a free gift with the first runs of this figure. It won't be available later on. So if you want the bases, I suggest you order them sooner rather than later. There's two versions of the base, from what I can tell on the front of the box. One base has primarily gray highlights, and the other has some purplish highlights. And it looks like I got both versions of the same base. Really, really not a big deal, but they're extremely well done. The plastic fur in there is very nicely detailed, looks absolutely great. Then you have this beautiful clear resin for the water puddle with all these little rocks in the puddle. On the other base, the rocks are a different color, and the water has slightly a blue tint. Maybe I got both versions of the base. I really don't know. They're so similar looking on the front of the box, but you have some nice weathering on the rocks, some mossy details all over the place. Yeah, these are really, really well done. Huge fan of bases with dinosaur figures, especially when they're nice in detail like this. They remind me of the old school reborn bases. So yeah, definitely, if you want these bases or these figures now, and don't wait till later, it's a nice gift that comes with these figures for $60. These bases probably retail for at least 10, 15 bucks a piece if they're available separately. And let's take a look at the brown version, my unanimous favorite of the two variants. Absolutely love everything about this figure. Starting with the head. The head shape is pretty much spot on to Tate 099.01. That is one of the only known possible Brontosaurus skulls, and it matches it pretty much identically. Just love the deep purple on the head and how it slowly transitions down the neck. This reminds me of like an adult, mature male with that coloration. You can see the hypothetical beak on the snout, the nostrils, and you can see the fleshy reconstruction up to where the actual nostril openings are on the skull. Looks like those could possibly be inflatable sacs for display. Eyes painted yellow with a black pupil, and then along the top of the neck going all the way down to about the halfway point of the tail, this nice row of bright orange spikes going back to the neck. Very thick and powerful neck. Apatosaurs had very thick, heavy necks, where other sauropods at the time were making their necks lighter. These guys were developing very heavy necks, and the way the muscles attach, they could have a very hard downward force. So it's thought that they might use that for interspecies combat, for like fighting over mates and stuff. And you can see those bosses and spikes along the neck. Very, very cool touch, and just that nice molted pattern of dark blotches all the way down the neck and body and tail really, really make this stand out. Going down to the front legs, you got that that half moon for the front feet, which is accurate. You've got that large thumb spike. None of the other claws are shown, which is accurate, and the fine details all over the body are really nicely done. That night and day difference between their Apatosaurus, which came out years ago, shows you how much this company has evolved over time. Going down to the hind legs, big, huge hind feet with all the toe claws painted in black. Going down to the tail is really cool looking. It goes from that brown, transitions to white with more of that dark blotches, and then at the end of the tail you get this nice orange and black striping with all these little like bumps and osteoderms at the end of the tail. Very, very cool touch. I just love the whip-like look of the tail, and flipping it over, you have this nice, pinkish coat for the underside with a very nice cloaca slit. So all around, this is an absolutely beautiful sauropod figure, and it's probably gonna be my favorite figure of the year because, I'm biased. Brontosaurus is my favorite dinosaur. And now taking a look at the gray version, let's just talk about the gray color scheme. Haolonggood has been very, very repetitive with their gray coloration the last few releases in a row. The Saurolophus, Torosaurus, and even the Euhelopus have very, very similar color patterns, and I don't know if they got like a bargain buster deal on gray paint, but it is getting very, very repetitive. The brown version, absolutely incredible. It's so unique looking. Compared to this, I just really want to see them go away from the gray, at least do something different. It just feels very lazy at this point. It's still a great figure, but when you compare it to their other few releases, you can definitely see a pattern forming. So hopefully with the next few releases, we don't see this color scheme for a while, because me and a few other people in the collecting community are just getting a little bit bored by this color. But anyways, going up to the head, this is exactly the same sculpt as the brown version. Those fleshy reconstruction around the nostrils are done in a nice bright pink color. Looks really, really nice. I would say one thing about the gray, you can see the finer details a little bit better, especially like the little osteoderms peppered throughout the neck and back, and those nice folds and wrinkles at the base of the neck. It gives a very, very lifelike appearance. You still have that very fine scale detail, but older sauropod figures, it was just kind of reconstructed like an elephant, like with all those creases and folds. So this is definitely a huge step in the right direction with their sauropods. You can see the bosses and spikes underneath the neck are nicely sculpted. Going down to the hind legs, you can see some nice fine scale detail and folds around the elbow and wrist. That toe claw is painted in a nice dark black color. Going to the body, like I said, those scale details and folds and wrinkles really pop on this gray one. I guess that is, a bonus with this one. You can't really see them that detailed on the brown version. Going down to the feet, you got some nice dry brushing around the folds and wrinkle on the feet. A wash around the feet. It gives it that dirty look. Toe claws painted in black. You get that nice row of bright orange spikes along the neck and to about the halfway point of the tail. Same thing with the tail. When you get to the tip, it transitions into that black and orange stripe pattern with all those little spikes and osteoderms, which is an absolutely fantastic touch. Flipping it over, it has a lighter cream color than the brown version for the underside. And there is our obligatory cloaca slit, all nice big and swollen. So yeah, I absolutely love these two figures. Usually with Haolonggood's large sauropods lately, I've only been buying one version, but since Brontosaurus is an absolute favorite of mine, I had to get both. And I like the way both of them are opposed. You can kind of have them next to each other with the way that the neck's crane to the side looks like they're trying to fight each other, or maybe they're trying to mate. So very cool. Different posing possibilities with the way both these figures are sculpted. Moving on to comparisons, first up we have Collecte's 140 scale human to really put into perspective of what a large animal Brontosaurus was. Next up we have Collecte's Brontosaurus, which came out way back in 2018. So they kind of got ahead of that, 2015 study and released a Brontosaurus figure 3 years later. I always liked this figure. I think it's like 10, maybe $12. It's a really nice figure. Always hoped they were going to make a deluxe version of it, and they never did. But I'm happy Haolonggood answered the call and just gave us these beautiful, 135-ish Brontosaurs. Next up, here it is with a couple other very famous dinosaurs, Tyrannosaurus Rex and Triceratops, both from Haolonggood. Seriously, I absolutely love that T-Rex. For $35, it's one of the best T-Rex figures on the market. Yeah, it's lipless, but it's still an absolutely beautiful figure, and I just might pick up the blue one because I love this figure so much. Next up is most of Haolonggood's sauropod figures. The Morrison formation ones that are missing will appear a little bit later on during comparisons. In the back over here, we have the large, impressive Alamosaurus, the very long Mamenchisaurus, Amargasaurus, the Crayosaurus, which was their first sauropod. And in the back over here, we have the Impellosaurus and one of their newer releases, Euhelipus. Next up are some Morrison formation theropods. In the front over here, we have Papoceratosaurus. In the back, Pianessos Torvosaurus with that gray color scheme that Haolonggood just absolutely loves using for some reason. And then we have Pianessos Allosaurus Anax. That poor Allosaurus figure, it took a dive off my shelf a couple weeks ago and it got the crap kicked out of it. Toe claws chipped, lots of paint scuffs. I'm going to have to replace it because it is like one of my favorite Allosaurus figures in my collection. Next up are some other Morrison formation sauropods from other companies. In the back over here, we have Pianesso's impressive Camarasaurus, and then we have Rebor's really impressive Diplodocus with opposable tail and neck. Haolonggood has teased that a Diplodocus is coming. The Rebor one has been standing on my shelf for, since it ever came out, but it's 100% going to get replaced when Haolonggood releases there. And then this little one down here in the corner is Dinozoo's Catty-Docus, a very obscure Morrison formation sauropod. So yeah, just absolutely love the diversity of all these large animals that lived in the same environment. It's absolutely incredible. And lastly, here is a group shot of all of Haolonggood's Morrison formation species that they've done so far. In the back over here, we have the large and impressive Brachiosaurus. I have to review this thing when I have some downtime. I just never got around to it. We got both Brontosaurs, the Stegosaurus ungulatus, Camarasaurus, their first large sauropod, their beautiful Apatosaurus, still one of my favorite figures in my collection. The blue Stegosaurus ungulatus and Allosaurus. They've done the Morrison formation justice in just a short couple of years. I have high hopes that they're going to continue to pump out more species. Would really love to see a Barosaurus that is a sauropod species that has never been made into figure form. And plus, I've repeated myself many times throughout my reviews over the years, I really, really need a Camptosaurus for my Morrison formation, along with Dryosaurus, while we're at it, Gargoylosaurus, Marchosaurus. There's a lot they can do, but like Camptosaurus is like my top priority. Please, Haolonggood, do a 2-pack with a couple different color variations in different poses. I will buy a ton of them and have a little herd of them on my shelf. But yeah, Haolonggood absolutely knocking it out of the park lately. So final thoughts on Haolonggood's Brontosaurus. Absolutely love them. I've said it a few times, my favorite dinosaur species of all time. So I'm so happy to have two beautiful figures of this species. They're really, really improving on their sauropods. The brown one is absolutely stunning. I think it's one of their best colored figures so far. The gray, we already went over that. I just feel like that color scheme is very repetitive, and hopefully that changes with future releases from them. But everything about both these figures, just the thickness of the powerful necks Brontosaurus had, the spiky bosses underneath the neck, the whip-like tail, just everything about this, it's just perfect in my eyes. I have really no complaints how these figures are sculpted and detailed. The bases are a nice added bonus. They look great on top of them, and I really could not be happier with these two figures. So if you want to pick them up for yourself, like I said earlier, they retail for $60. Link to Land of Time shop is down below in the description. So that will do for the review. I really don't have really anything new coming in next few weeks. So I might go back and review the Haolonggood Brachiosaurus and Tyrannosaurus Rex, since I never ever got around to those. So stay tuned for that. And as always, if you're enjoying the content on this channel, show your support by hitting that subscription button just below the video. Each subscription helps out the channel tremendously and is greatly appreciated. And I'll see you guys for the next one.